how many of you have horses that will stand there that quiet away when its buddies are that far away? I know a lot of people don't. And if they won't do it on the ground, they won't do it riding either, usually. So that's another thing we look for. Is actually, we like for long distance almost, and we don't like a lazy horse, but we like a quiet horse. You always see all the ads in the paper that say, you know, won't slow down, never runs out of gas, constantly pulling, make a great endurance horse. Well, we found those make pretty decent 50-mile horses, but not beyond at all. They don't eat, they don't drink, they waste energy, they step in holes, their heads are up high, and we really don't look for that. So we really don't have many horses that you would be like white-knuckled, and we're running up front in big races with them. They're quiet, they're relaxed, and a lot of it's the brain. I think this horse, I've been riding her, this is just her third 50 tomorrow. I can tell she could get that way if I'd let her get that way, but I'm not going to let her get that way. The way I'm going to do that is she's going to do a couple more 50s till I think she's legged up, and slow 50s, and then she's going to do a 75, and then I'm going to move to her slow 100. I won't race her in a 50 until she's done hundreds, slow 100s. Otherwise, her brain will get fried and I'll never get through hundreds with her. It's really hard to go backwards, we've found, on most of these horses when they get race brain. So that's kind of a big thing there. So kind of along those lines, I was just talking to Bruce about this earlier. You know, you keep hearing the saying, ride your own ride, and I all the time see people that can't ride their own ride because they have no control of their horse. And so you're either getting drugged with another horse too fast, or some people don't realize you're going too slow. And there is, we believe, a too slow sometimes. They're out there long, without water, without food. You got to really ride them if you want to move up in distance, the pace that you trained and the pace that they're capable of going. So one of the big problems I found with this is couples that ride together and friends that ride together. So you need to be prepared to cut yourself off from those people, either at a vet check or on the trail. If it's not helping your horse and you think your horse needs to go a different pace, whether it be slower or faster, you have to be comfortable and confident. Your horse has to be confident enough to cut the cord and go separately. You really can only go as fast as the slowest rider safely. And if you're doing 50s, that may work, but if you're doing long distances and you get drugged down with somebody and then they pull at 80 miles of 100, you could have been faster with somebody else, you know, could have gone a whole lot better. So that's one of the things we found out. We try and pair our horses up. Down here we brought all young horses, so they're in the same level, so hopefully we can ride together. But if tomorrow at any point anything happens that we don't think it's working, we have no problem. We both have confidence in our horses to separate. And I think that's really, really important moving up in the distance. Like I said, a lot of this stuff you can get away with on the LDs and the 50s. There's usually enough people out there you can, on the trail, do this and find somebody. But when you get to the long distance, sometimes you're out there by yourself and it's dark, and you have to be able to be confident on your own. So let's see. Oh yeah, and so on the rider end, mentally, I know my toughest loop of 100 is my first loop, believe it or not. And as I knock off loops, it gets easier for me mentally, maybe not physically, but mentally. And I take it loop by loop, and you know, pretty soon I've done a couple loops, and it's like, oh, 75, that's not that, you know, that much. And then it's a 50. Oh, what's a 50? And then you're down to a 25. I think to sit there all day and have in your mind that you're doing 100 is overwhelming to a lot of people, and that's not a really good way to, I don't think, to approach it. Let's see. I think that's probably, what else do I have? I think I went over the calm horses thing, the hot horses thing. So I was just going to end on a little story about that horse, and actually Dennis rode that horse in its first 50, and a situation we got in to keep it from getting race brain. He rode it in its first 50, and we got 45 miles. The horse was perfect the whole day. The last 5 miles, the LDs caught us and all came racing by us, and she came unglued, absolutely unglued. She got upside down, head up. We'd never seen her that nervous, that uptight. So we turned around and literally went 2 miles backwards on the trail until everybody was gone, until she got a brain again, and then continued on. So that horse finished that 50 quiet on a loose rein. And then the next 50 I rode her in, and she was perfect. So you got to be willing to do some of those things and not just decide you're gonna, white knuckle it and be scared to death, and because it's only going to get worse the next time. And if you try and do long distance with that kind of horse, it's just not going to work. So that's my end of it.
They're creatures of habit to the maximum, and if you get used to giving them 20 pounds of rein, that's the way they're gonna travel. If you allow them to get a loop in the ride with a loop in the rein, and if they get tense, circle them and make them do whatever till you can travel with the loop in the rein. That's what they'll get used to. But just think of the things that these, like cart horses in New York City, you get used to. All the stuff going on and everything, and they get used to just about anything. They just have to be made to perform in the manner that you want them to do.
So
and if you give a little and give a little more, depending on the horse, pretty soon, the horse is going to be doing whatever the hell he wants.
So I was going to have Robin tell her little famous story about riding one of our horses for the first time, years and years ago. So Robin is from Washington. She's a trainer and started training a lot of endurance horses up in Washington years and years ago. And we kind of got connected, I don't know, 20 years ago or something like that.
Quite a while ago,
and we invited her to come to a ride, and we were training for a big FEI event. It was the last 50 we were going to do on 3 of our horses, and we asked her to ride with us and told her we were running up front, we were running to win 3 horses together and this and that. And you can go take it over from there.
I had a whole bunch of friends that were friends of Sue and Dennis's, and oh God, they go like crazy. Just try to hang on as much as you can. And I ride in jeans. I haven't done 100 yet, but I've done 75s and 80s in jeans, and I'm fine. That's what I ride in. And so they went out and bought me riding jeans and everything, and they had me kind of wigged out about riding with these guys. And I knew I could do it, but so we get out, we leave camp at this just nice little 12-mile-an-hour canter. We've got people passing us, just blasting our doors off. And it wasn't 4 or 5 miles down the trail, we just start picking them off, and not a whole bunch of people passed us, but we just kept that pace all day. We trotted or cantered right into the first check, hopped off, horses immediately drank. We were down in 2 minutes or less. Through the vet check, there was absolutely no wasted time. It was clockwork. Immediately, as our time was out, we're trotting or cantering out of camp. There was, again, no wasted time. It was in the vet checks that we gained a ton of time and just steadiness in our gait. We never raced full out. We never were going through the nasty terrain at something our horses couldn't handle. It was a pretty good ride. We trotted. We walked some places, not very often, but we did. You hop off when needed, and you eat up so much ground just with that consistent pace. It's unbelievable. Everybody came back asking, "Oh my God, how was it?" It was so relaxing to ride with them. Their horses go with loose rein, easy paces, consistent, no fighting for leads. The horses pass us. The horses out in front, where they're not constantly fighting. We had no back soreness or anything like that to deal with. It was just such a pleasure to ride with them. And riding with them at training, at home, and then starting their young horses, it's the same way. But the horses that come to me after they get race brain are really, really, really hard to deal with. So with these young horses, we're going to walk out of camp tomorrow. We're going to pokey-doe around and, wait till most of the riders are gone, and it's going to be easy. But as soon as they get race brain, it's so hard. But it's so much easier to deal with it before that happens.
I have a question. Do you have any techniques or strategies for bringing a horse up throughout that whole process to teach horses they are eating and drinking, whether it's their first 30 or they're racing their first year, first 100, or something you do to assure that they will?
Well, relaxation is a big part of why horses won't eat and drink, especially early about leaving again. So it kind of just ties in with our outlook of trying to keep the horses relaxed, moving free, and just going down the trail. So that helps there. One thing that we do, especially on 50s, is we don't have our horses knee deep in feed the night before. In fact, some horses that start hungry on the 50s, the ones that don't eat well, and they see food for the first and second time, I bet you they're going to dive into it because they haven't seen food till about 10 o'clock the night before. Well, just light hay, if they're eating 2 plates morning and evening at home, that's about what they get in camp. But the tendency here is every time you see the bag empty at camp, you're filling. And we used to be of that theory, but you think about it, if you're going to do a marathon or on foot, we wouldn't eat like a Thanksgiving type dinner the night before.
So we feed them exactly the same thing the night before a ride that they do get every day, other than add electrolytes. The quantity.
I keep no grain.
Yeah, grain. No, I'm not saying grain wise. I'm saying hay wise.
Right.
Yeah, hay wise. But how many people do you know just keep, once they get the ride camp, just keep throwing the hay in there and keep throwing the hay in there and stuff? And yeah, we don't. And also, yeah, and also we're definitely not against it at all. But we do not use any omeprazole or anything, and we have pretty good eaters. So. I think Dennis is right. The key is if they're relaxed, they're going to eat and drink. If they're not relaxed, they're not.
And there are, there may be one horse in 10 that's kind of a chronic, especially when you start racing hard. They're just not going to eat. You just experiment around. We'll pick grass. Not going to pick a hell of a lot of grass around here, but at home, have a big bushel of grass for them. Oat hay they seem to eat really bland feed first. Just a variety of different stuff that they don't see at home that might get them started. But some of them, it's a chronic problem. I've got a 100-mile horse right now is the poorest eater. During the race, when you're racing hard, and it's probably rooted in, like they say, when they're galloping and working hard, those stomach acids are stirring around and maybe create the ulcer on the, or at least the stomach, not in their stomach, to where he just doesn't want it. He's half Mustang. He eats the heck out of everything you put in front of him the rest of the time. So it's a specific, probably stomach acid problem that he has. Got a bad valve that's allowing the stomach acids to flow where it shouldn't. But we manage it. Some of them they all have their weak links in that too.
I'd like Robert to comment about average speed. You can increase your effective speed by not wasting time. Right. But sometimes beginners and veterans alike, they like to feel kind of proud of my horse can trot 13 miles an hour. Like that kind of speed is going to get you down. You rarely are doing that kind of trotting speed. Going over to the canter, right? You're not going to go after this kind of thing.
I prefer an easy canter. I think that long trot's pretty overrated. And then no matter the horse, you're landing pretty hard.
And you get to the long